Oh, hang on one. There. So we'll go ahead and get started. I'm Cindy Yarrington. I'm a parent educator here in the district with our early childhood family education program. And I've been in the district for going on my third year. And I have to say, this is a great community to be a part of. Just families and staff have been so welcoming and kind. And I think that you're going to have the same experience as you start your child's educational journey with us. So we have some special guests today. We have Carissa Keister, and she is our district's communication director. We have Amy Berge, who is our early childhood supervisor. And we have Pam Morrison someplace, and she oversees our special ed. So, and then we have a phenomenal panel of teachers and parents that you're going to learn a lot from. In fact, I'd recommend if you want to grab a piece of paper and pen and just jot down maybe some tips or ideas that you get from them that you might want to remember later, and keeping in mind that not everything works for every child, but they do have some great ideas. So we'll go ahead and start with Carissa. And I should mention, feel free during our hour to go ahead and if you have questions to put them in the chat. And then the panel and Carissa will be kind of monitoring those and we will answer them primarily at the end of the last 15 minutes, but we might answer some here or there too. So, all right, Carissa, go ahead.
Well, welcome everybody to Stillwater Area Public Schools. As I was introduced, I'm Carissa Keister, the Communications Director for the school district. On behalf of our administrative team and all of our staff, we are just really excited to be able to welcome you to part of the Pony family. We do see this as a family. As you get to know people in the school communities, I think you'll start to feel that too. There's a lot of love here for kids, and the teachers are that's going to come across very clearly in the 3 teachers that are here today, but that follows kids all the way up through graduation. So we're really, really excited that you have chosen our school district. We think you made a great choice. We believe we have a lot of amazing things to offer your students, and that's what we wanted to share today. So we're actually going to open up things off today by showing a really short video that hopefully will make you feel a little bit more excited than you already are as you think about all of the things that are in store for your child in the years ahead. So as Cindy is getting that going, again, we'll just show a quick little video and then we'll get started and really let the panel do their thing today. So do you want to go to the video, Cindy? Thank you. If you're not hearing the audio, it is just music, but sorry, it seems like it's maybe a little hit or miss here.
It's pretty cool.
Mr. Dennis McDonald.
Two more times.
It's got to collect some kind of a base it up here.
It is just an unbelievable experience and advantage that we're giving to kids.
Well, as you can see, there's a lot going on in the district and a lot of really fun things in store for you and your family. But you're here because you have a student starting kindergarten and it's your first student and you're probably a little apprehensive and unsure and maybe even a little scared about what to expect. So our goal today is to try to reassure you, answer your questions. The first thing we'll look at quickly is just the checklist of things that are coming up in the next few months. You should have had information sent to you in the kindergarten information packet. And along with that was some information about school tours. And I do encourage you to take a school tour. There are dates listed in that mailing that you received. They're also out on the website for all of our schools. You can tour the school that you are assigned to, or if you're interested in looking into other schools in the district, you're certainly welcome to tour other schools. We do have the option of alternate enrollment in our district. And what that really means is you can choose another school in the district outside of your attendance boundary. Transportation is not provided, but if you are able to get your student to another school and that is something you're interested in, that is what alternate enrollment is all about. January 15th is kind of our soft deadline. You can certainly enroll after that time, but that's really the priority date for alternate enrollment. If you're interested in Spanish immersion, that's kind of the deadline in order to have priority for those programs. At the end of January, if you do apply for either alternate enrollment or Spanish immersion, that's when those decisions are made and you will find out if you are accepted into your school of choice there. And then another really big important day is February 28th. That's kindergarten orientation. Kindergarten orientation is the day that you actually bring your child to school and they get to go do some fun activities with the teachers and the other students in the classroom, while you as parents get to go and meet the staff and have a lot of information shared with you and time for questions and answers actually in your school. So save those dates. A couple other things to remember before that first day of kindergarten. Your child should have taken part in an early childhood screening. That is actually required by the state of Minnesota for kids to enter kindergarten. So if you haven't done that already, you can go out to our website and search for early childhood screening and you'll find the information you need. You'll also need to have a physical, and if there's immunizations or waivers that need to be submitted to the district, please make sure you get those records to us as well. A good time to do that is at orientation, but you really have up until that first week before school starts to get those documents to us. And finally, the Ready, Set, Go conference is something that you will be hearing more about from teachers and the parents, but this is really an amazing opportunity we started offering a couple of years ago to let our kids come in prior to that first day of school, the week right before school starts. They get one-on-one time with the teacher. They get to see their classroom. It's a really great way for them to just gain that confidence before the first day of school. But again, you're here to hear from the parents and the teachers. So I will turn it over to Cindy to get us started on our panel.
All right, thank you, Carissa. Okay, so we have 3 fantastic kindergarten teachers with us, and they are just a great representation of the educators here in Stillwater. We have Megan Knippenberg, and she is from Brookview. We have Melody Schumacher, and she's from Lily Lake. And we have Dem Simcik, and she is from Rutherford. So we're just gonna ask them a few questions, and we'll go ahead and get started. So this kind of the order we'll go in for this question. We'll start with Megan, Melody, and Deb, but please describe a typical day in kindergarten.
Welcome, everybody. Like Cindy said, I'm Megan Knippenberg. I teach kindergarten at Brookview Elementary. And just kind of going back, even rewinding a little bit to those Ready, Set, Go conferences, that will really be your child's first time to come into the classroom and see where their cubby and their table spot and where they hang up their backpacks and coats, and really get to kind of meet their kindergarten teacher one-on-one before that first day of school. It's kind of a nice icebreaker time for the kids to just kind of like get to say hi and not be distracted by other students around them. And then, you know, if we feel comfortable, we might do some fun, you know, little number and alphabet games with your child just to kind of see what they already know before coming into kindergarten. So that's a great opportunity, and it's really nice for us teachers too to get to know you and your family before that really first busy day of school. As far as what a kindergarten day will look like, your kindergartner will come in on the first day. Some of them might eat breakfast at school before the day starts. Breakfast is offered for all students. They usually will bring their breakfast right into the classroom so that they can be part of the class right away. Other students who don't eat breakfast will come in and will learn our special routines, like how to hang up your coat on your hook, how to take out a folder out of a backpack. They'll have special areas where they get to store their materials. So we'll be talking about, how we use different materials those first 6 weeks of school. The morning, once we, learn our routines and things like that, we will begin our reading and writing and literacy curriculum. So in the morning, it's pretty literacy based. Sometimes a little math might be sprinkled in as well, depending on their lunch schedules and, when they have specialist time. We do something great called our Letterland program. And if your child is in our preschool program, they will, or pre-kindergarten, they will also have exposure already to that. So that's kind of nice when they come into kindergarten, knowing some of those alphabet characters and letter sounds. Your child will be reading. You'll be amazed at the end of the year, even towards the middle of the year, some of them will be reading books. We do a lot of homeschool connection with that, where they'll bring books home from school and read to you. So that's a pretty amazing part of being a kindergartner, is that you get to read, and they feel so successful at that. They will be writing stories. We have a writer's workshop time where they will learn how to use their ideas to create stories and put those ideas in a special order so that they can share it with others. Once our kind of literacy time is done I'm going to back up because I forgot the most important part of the day, and that is our morning meeting. That is really important. We do responsive classroom at our school, which is really focusing on those social skills, empathy, and just character building skills, learning how to share, learning how to get along, learning how to communicate with each other. So during our morning meeting, that is really how we start our day. We will have a sharing time. We will have an activity. It could be a fun game. It could be academic based. They will read a morning message where we find out about what's happening during our day. And just kind of getting to know each other's names and who their peers are and who their teacher is. That's a really powerful time of the day. It's a great way to just kick off our day and start on a positive note. And then after morning meeting, we go into literacy. That's kind of our morning time. And then your child will get a recess, and recess is 20 minutes. We usually do a recess and then transition to lunch afterwards. Those first few weeks of school, we have lots of helpers helping with your child and how to get a lunch, how to put food on your tray, how to use your lunch badge to enter your lunch number and things like that. So there'll be a lot of help and support those first few weeks of school. And, lunch is quick. And so kids have to be ready to be opening containers and things like that. And, but like I said, there's lots of people to help your child. So lunch and recess and lunch is kind of like our middle of our day. And then we come back, and sometimes we might have a quiet time, which looks like maybe resting or reading books or doing an art project or doing some small one-on-one stations with your teacher. It's kind of just a time to just kind of relax. Sometimes we'll play some quiet music. We don't really have a nap time, but some of your children will be tired those first couple weeks, and so we do allow them spaces within our classroom just to take a little break or rest. And some kids do bring a blanket the first couple weeks, and we don't have a full nap time, but our quiet time is maybe about 15 to 20 minutes just to give them that downtime. And then after quiet time, we will usually do a math block or science or reading, maybe some other reading activities in the afternoon too. We have our social studies curriculum that we use as well. It's a lot of hands-on learning and experimenting. And then We also, at the end of the day, do give the kids playtime, and they will sign up for playtime choices. It might look like visiting. Right now in my classroom, we have a gingerbread bakery where there's different jobs. Somebody's the cashier, somebody's the customer. They might be building with blocks. They might be creating books at a writing center. So there's lots of choices for your child in the afternoon just to interact with their peers and play. Um, and then at the end of the day, we usually kind of end with our closing meeting and we reflect on our day. And, the kids are super tired and they will come very tired home to you each day for the first month of school. And that's okay. It's just they're using all of their energy to keep it together during the day. So they might just be ready to just relax at night. And we'll talk more about that later, I know. But that's kind of our day. I'm not sure if I forgot anything. I might have, but it's really busy and they love it and I love it. And it's just a really fun time to be together.
Great. Melody, did you have anything that you wanted to add? Nope. Okay. How about Deb? Okay. So we'll go ahead and go on to our next question. And that is, what will children be learning during the year with you in kindergarten? And we'll go ahead and kick it off with Melody, and then go to Deb and Megan if they have anything else to add.
I'm Melody Schumacher. I'm a kindergarten teacher at Lily Lake, and your child will be learning so many wonderful things in kindergarten. Academically, as Megan said, they are going to learn how to read. We have an amazing program called Letterland that teaches the letter sounds through characters. So they will become readers in kindergarten. They will become writers. They will become scientists, authors. They learn how to write and spell in kindergarten. They do amazing things academically. You will see huge growth. Socially, your child will learn things like taking turns, waiting in line, helping a friend in when they need help, how to that give and take, the reciprocal part of a friendship. We learn that in kindergarten. And then we also, the kids will learn social or emotionally. We use a program called Second Step, which is a social emotional learning program that teaches things about emotional regulation, to advocating for yourself, to standing up against bullies. So your child will be learning a lot about how to be emotionally ready for school as well. So a beautiful thing in kindergarten is that we can really teach through the whole child. So academically, socially, and emotionally, we can hit all of those, and you will see huge, amazing growth in all three areas.
Thank you. All right, Deb, did you want to add anything? Okay, and I actually can't see you, Deb, so just speak up if you.
She gave a thumbs up. I think she's okay.
Okay.
Melody, we've got this down to a science. Melody did great.
Awesome. All right. And Megan, anything that you want to add? Okay. Well, Deb, we'll start with you for the next question then. What can parents do between now and the first day of school to make sure their child is ready for kindergarten?
So biggest thing is just love on them, spend time with them, talk with them. Use your car time. When you're in the car, turn the radio off and talk about what you see and where you're going, and rhyme in the car. Spend time sneaking in academics, finding letters places. What are their sounds? Finding numbers. You at the grocery store, have them search out things for you. Read as much as you can and cuddle, and build independence. So right now it's going to take longer to have them do their own snow pants, but it's going to pay off. So build independence as much as you can with all of your routines. Big thing too, limit screen time. These kiddos do not need screens. So a little TV every now and then, but the devices, just try to limit that as much as you possibly can. Gosh, anything else? Teach them how to be fair and kind. Talk about feelings. Talk about emotions. Talk about friendships, and then obviously model all of that as well. So yeah, just spend time with your kiddos. It goes fast.
Great advice. And Megan and Melody, anything else?
I think, as Deb said, the more independent you can help your child be prior to kindergarten is beneficial. So things like toileting, blowing their noses, putting on and taking off tennis shoes, zipping their coat, how to fill a water bottle at a drinking fountain. All of those things that we do for our kids, usually in preschool, kind of start allowing them opportunities to become independent so that when they're in kindergarten, they're able to do that because, you know, everybody, all kids want to be independent. They crave that. And so if we can set them up for success by little teaching them those things before they get to us, that would be amazing. I think as a kindergarten teacher, I so appreciate it when I get kids that know how to zip their coats or know how to use the bathroom without me or can know how to blow their nose. Those are the things that I would love to have parents do before they come to kindergarten.
Tip. All right, and our last question for our teachers, is there anything else that you want our parents to know?
Maybe just know that we're gonna love your little ones the moment they walk in the door. And I know Melody had mentioned this last night at our group time and saying that like we're going to work with your kids wherever they are at. If they come in and they're readers, great, we're going to work with them there. If they come in and they don't know any letter sounds, that's okay. We're going to work with them wherever they're at, and they are accepted and they are loved, and we make sure that that is communicated within our classroom environment from the first moment they walk in the door. And then just the other thing too to add is just setting up kind of like those morning routines, you know, maybe a couple weeks before school starts, like getting that, whatever that wake up time that is going to work for school, maybe start practicing that. Not, you know, the day before, but maybe a week before or a couple weeks before, just so that your child is getting used to getting up maybe earlier. Kind of look at the school start times and like talk about how this is going to be kind of your routine once you go to school. This is the time you'll be getting up and this is the time you'll be eating breakfast, just to help prepare them so it's not a super like shock to them, like if all of a sudden their wake up time changes and it's different from their summer wake up time. So just a little thing to think about.
Yeah, also their evening routine as well. So those first 6 weeks, your kiddos are going to be very, very tired. And they may even fall asleep in the car on the way home. And you may not even recognize them some days because they might be so cranky, but just know that they're holding it together here. They come home and they love you enough to let go there, but just plan evenings that are event free. So the first several weeks, you're going to want to not have a ton on your calendar. And you know, maybe for the first semester, Fridays are going to be chill at home nights, maybe a pizza and just relax, have a movie, get to bed early. Because they will be very tired. And then the other thing I'll say too is that Stillwater is an awesome place to be. I had the privilege of my 4 sons all going through here, and 3 in college now, 1 out of college, and they had great experiences here, and they're all, you know, doing super duper well. Their friends from Stillwater are still their very best friends. So it's a great place to be.
All right, anything else? All right. Otherwise, thank you so much, Deb, Melody, and Megan, just for taking your time. Not only today, I know that you guys are actually teaching today, so you've snuck away for this hour, and we appreciate that. But just everything that you've done always, but especially the last couple of years, just with COVID and pivoting and online learning and everything that you've had to do that, like a lot of things most of us never had to do before. So thank you so much for your time. All right, now we're going to move on to our parent panel, and we have 3 amazing moms that are here that are stopping their day 2 to share with us. And we have Emily Schaefer, and she has a child that goes to Stonebridge. And we have Sarah Lutz, and she has a daughter in Anderson. And then Allison Holbrook has a child in a Spanish immersion. So welcome, ladies. Thank you again for being here. And we'll start out with our first question is, tell us a little bit about the transition into kindergarten and how it went for your family. So Emily, let's start with you. We'll go to Sarah and then Allison.
The transition went pretty well. One of the, I would say, most tricky things was just the busing right away, where we thought, you know, we would have busing, and it turned out to be a blessing where we had less worries at the time because we could drop her off and kind of help her transition in. And that for her worked really well. And then when we added busing, she's like, oh yeah, I got this, versus having more worries. So that it did actually work well for our family. We did a lot of open-ended play where she could be in kind of control of the things. And then when she came home, just open-ended play where she was the leader, she could be in control. And then she could play teacher, which was really fun to see. And then we learned a lot about her day and what she did when she was playing teacher with the teddy bears or with us sitting there as her students. And it gave her, kind of decompressed, and it was really fun for her.
Thank you. How about you, Sarah?
I've got someone hogging the microphone, so I'm going to try my best. She did not get the memo about taking a nap. Totally. I think for us, the biggest thing was prepping my daughter. She tends to be kind of an anxious little kiddo, but she loves to be read too. So we had checked out some books from the library, and we're amazed like how many books there are about going to kindergarten. So just reading to her about it ahead of time so that she could kind of have some sense of what to expect. That piece was really good. And the communication with her teacher, I think the Ready, Set, Go conferences were such a blessing because we had the opportunity, to meet one-on-one with her teacher. And it was just as helpful for me as a mom as it was for my daughter to have that one-on-one time. And to ask those questions that, you feel kind of silly asking. It was really helpful to be able to meet one-on-one during the Ready, Set, Go conference.
All right. Thanks, Sarah. It's real life, right? We're all parents on here, so been there, done that. Yes. All right, Allison, how about your family?
Yeah, so the transition was actually pretty smooth for us. Our son he's on the older side. He turned 6 shortly after school started. And so he was pretty ready for kindergarten. He had also been in childcare since he was an infant, had been to pre-K and preschool programs. So it was pretty used to that structure of school. I agree with Sarah. The Ready, Set, Go conference was really helpful. We were lucky at Lake Elmo to have a back to school night this year, even with COVID. And so we were able to go with him to see the school tour. It was really fun to just kind of walk around. I know not all schools had that this past year, but hopefully next year they'll be able to. But just taking any opportunity you can to learn about your kiddo starting school, going to visit, doing the conferences, all of those things, I think really helped the transition. Got him excited, got us comfortable knowing like where he was going to be, who his teacher was, things like that. So yeah, it was a pretty good transition. I know we'll talk in a little bit about kind of some of the things we did that I think helped that too. But also the teachers, as they said, there's so many people helping the kids out. Paras, teachers, the bus drivers, the cafeteria staff, just everybody, just making it really easy for the kids to like learn the new process. So yeah.
Thank you. All right. So starting with Sarah, our next question is, what was your biggest fear as a parent and what was the reality?
I think most of my fears were around, just due to the pandemic and those things that we, feel like we can't control. And I think just, for the first time, my daughter was going to be in a larger group setting, more kids, fewer adults than she was used to with preschool. But again, the communication with her teacher was just amazing. Every email that her teacher signs, she signs it in partnership. And from day one, I always felt that was so true, that she saw me as an equal partner, and she still does. So even the things I can't control, the things that are challenging, I know that her teacher really sees me as an equal partner, and she's just wonderful. And we couldn't be more grateful for that solid partnership that we have.
And how about you, Allison?
Yeah, I think some of our fears were just really, I think the ones that a lot of parents have, which we're relating to, like, how is he going to be so independent without us? So even though he was in a pre-K program, they still served him lunch, and the bathroom was in the classroom and all of those things. And so I think just like, how's he going to go through the lunch line? How's he going to remember his PIN? Is he going to choose his own lunch by himself? Riding the bus? Are they going to let him in the hallway by himself? And is he going to know what he's doing? Just like a lot of those things. And the reality of it was like, he just rose to the occasion. There's so many people helping. I think as someone said earlier, they crave independence and they're just at that age where it's exciting and it's fulfilling for them to do stuff on their own. So it all just kind of fell into place and he loved it. He loved the lunch tray and, the bus. And he came home and said, we don't wear seatbelts on the bus, like just all the things that we were really worried about were like exciting and new. And he just like tackled them with no problem. So, the teachers do this every year. I know it's new for us as parents, but the teachers and all the staff at the schools are just pros at it. And I think they make it so easy for the kids. The other thing I'll say in particular about Spanish immersion, we don't speak Spanish in our house. We knew it was what we wanted for him, but we were really nervous that maybe he would get there and just be overwhelmed and not be interested in it. And that just it didn't happen that way. I mean, he's very excited. All of the other kids, short of the native speakers, don't know Spanish either. And so he's kind of just in a program with a lot of other kids who are in the same situation as him, who are kind of just starting from scratch and learning together. So he's really enjoyed it. We've loved it. It's been a great experience. And all of those fears of like, is he just gonna, shut down or reject it? And he didn't. So, and I've talked to other parents in the program, and I think that's been their experience as well. The kids, they really, they just, they're sponges and they soak it all in.
Great perspective. All right. And how about for you, Emily?
I think our biggest concern was the bus, sending, your little kindergartner on the bus, not knowing anyone on the bus. And then, car seats, it's just very different than getting into a car. And like I said, it actually worked out really well for us where we didn't worry about that right away. And then when we were able to get busing, she was like, oh, okay, I know some friends on the bus now. I'll be on the bus and then my friend is going to be on the bus. And so we can walk in together and we'll hold hands and it'll be great. I said, yep, that's wonderful. So it turned out great. And her teacher was wonderful about getting them onto the bus at the end of the day, making sure they got on the right bus, because there's always that fear that they're going to get on the wrong bus. But the teachers were wonderful about making sure that, nope, they have little signs. This is your bus. We'll make sure you get there each day. And then they get into the routine. So.
Great. Thank you. All right. So Allison, we'll go ahead and start you off with this next question. What were some things that you did to help your child get ready for kindergarten?
Sure. One of the things that was recommended on this meeting when I attended last year was to practice the meal times. So I know one of the teachers already addressed this, but the lunchtime is a little bit shorter than maybe they're used to. And so, maybe at lunch on the weekend, timing it so you can kind of get them used to eating maybe a little bit faster, making sure they can open all of their things if they're bringing cold lunch. Our son was at a pre-K program. And so this credit to them on this, they dropped naps. So some of the kids were still napping and they dropped naps about a month before school started. And we noticed right away that our son's bedtime changed an hour because he was still napping. And it went about an hour earlier. So that was really nice because we were already kind of in a schedule where he was going to bed earlier. So he got up earlier and then he wasn't so tired the first month or so of school. So that was really helpful. And then I think the big thing we did was just talk to him a lot about it. So, talk to him that he was starting kindergarten, where he was going, that it was going to be in Spanish. We knew a couple people that were going to be in the program with us. So we, talked about, you would know these kids. And I think just letting him ask questions, getting him comfortable and prepared. So it's not a big shock. It got him really excited. I mean, he was still nervous, the first day and everything, but also super excited. And I think felt prepared because of, all the talking and books like Sarah had mentioned too.
And how about for you, Sarah?
I think kind of similar to what Allison shared, lots of talking about it. We had moved recently prior to my daughter starting. So just even, we passed the school and it was like, that's going to be your new school. That's going to be where kindergarten is. And even just playing on the playground, things like that to familiarize herself as best as she could with this new building. And then I think, one of the teachers earlier had talked about some of those things to kind of get ready for the academic portion, like rhyming. We randomly one day came across this game of during dinner, my kids wanted to get done and we were trying to make it last longer so that I could finish eating. And we randomly happened upon like a rhyming game of just like trying to make little poems or like rhyming, and it turned into their like favorite thing in the world. So just little things like that to try to get her ready for kind of some of like the reading pre-skills. She loved it. It's still one of her favorite games. Like I Spy, like then it turned into this whole thing of little games we could play during dinner just so I could finish eating. That turned out to be like school readiness things. So that was great. It was a fortunate accident.
Nice. And Emily?
I have the joy of being off in the summer. So we did lots of open-ended play, lots of camping and being outside. And so then kind of encouraging that inquisitive nature in her of, oh, let's go on a hike. And, we saw these baby owls. So let's go to the library. Let's learn about them and kind of use those interests as, what do you want to learn? This is something you might learn in school. You could learn about owls, or you could learn how they fly, or just different aspects of it. So she could see how she's going to be learning in school and really taking those interests and kind of broadening them. And then doing some of the reading with the books, and we would do picnics with her lunchbox so that she could then understand how to open everything. And that seemed to really help too.
Thank you. All great tips. All right, Emily, we'll go ahead and start with you with this one. What was the hardest adjustment for your child?
Those first few days just being really tuckered out. So we did no demand play. So when she got home, we had the routine, okay, hang up your stuff. And then what do you want to play? I will play with you. So it wasn't, okay, now we're going to do this, and this chore, or we're going to go do this. We would just go and play together and have a snack. And that seemed to really kind of calm her. And then she was going to bed early those first few weeks. So we really did not plan a lot. We went camping the first weekend because that is where she thrives, outside. And she said, this helps me think, Mama. So do what works for them, and kind of listen to what your, child needs. But we just kind of remove some of those demands that we would normally place on her and then added them back in.
Great advice to be in tune with your child. How about for you, Sarah?
I think there was like an adjustment period for all of us, just because it was a brand new routine, getting out the door as well as like coming home at the end of the day. My husband and I both work full time. So our adjustment was around, when she would get off the bus, everyone was kind of piling in the door at the same time. And she was so hungry, like ready to eat at 5 o'clock. So our adjustment was around how can we basically be ready to have like a full meal at 5 o'clock. And it was a lot of spaghetti, pizza, crock pot dinners. And it was just fine. It was like, this is temporary, that we can eat dinner at 5 and then have like a second dinner at, 9 o'clock for the adults. But it worked out fine. And eventually, she adjusted. She didn't have to go to bed earlier. And now we are back to eating dinner at 6:30, thankfully. So.
And Allison?
Yeah, I actually asked my son what he thought the hardest thing or the adjustment, and he said homework, which is funny because he doesn't really get homework. We have reading that we do, to practice his reading every night, but no like worksheets or anything of actual homework. So I asked him to elaborate what he meant. And then he said like math or tests. And I think kind of what he was getting at is, although he was in like a pre-K program, he doesn't really like to get things wrong. And so being corrected, or like the actual learning portion and like being told like, oh, no, that's not right. No, it's this. So I think that's been kind of hard for him because he does like to get everything right, which we all know is, never, not possible. For me, I think it was communication. And I know, I'm sure the teachers will talk more about it. And the communication is great. Don't get me wrong. It's just, we went from being at a daycare where we picked him up every day at the door of his room and the teacher would tell us all about the day to, he's in a class with 5 other kids and the teachers cannot possibly update you on how it goes every day. They're very open. We can email and get updates, and every time I've emailed, I've gotten a response right away. But just that, not knowing what was going on every day was different for us, and it's actually gone really smoothly. But just not knowing, is there something I need to address with him? Because I don't know if it happened. Kids aren't going to tell you everything about their day. We haven't really talked about this today, but just asking them about their day, like specifics instead of how did it go, but like, what did you do that was fun today? Or what, what made you laugh today? Things like that really get them talking more about their day than just asking like, how did it go? Or, how was your day? So that's been an adjustment for us too, just to kind of learn about his days and kind of pull that out of him. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if the teachers want to talk more about communication, but it is great. It's just, not as much as at a daycare when you're picking them up and getting, a full report from the teacher, face to face.
Teachers, do you want to add anything about communication?
Yeah, I can do that. So at Rutherford, we start out the beginning of the year with daily emails, and the parents will get exactly what we did during the day and questions to ask your kiddo so that you don't get the I didn't do anything. So it'll say, tell me about the character in the story that you read. What was her biggest problem or whatever. We'll have questions that they can ask. We do fall and winter conferences with the parents, so you'll have a chance to come in. You can always email your teacher or call your teacher. Our district uses Seesaw, which is an app that today, a kiddo lost his boot. He found one. I get to take a picture with his found boot, send it to mom and dad and on Seesaw, and they get a picture of him with his boot and problem is solved. So you'll do that, but then we wean parents out of daily emails, and we do Sunday emails. So parents get an email every Sunday with what is our plan this week? What things are we tackling? So that's kind of our communication.
Thank you, Deb. All right, well, I think we'll go ahead and close out with our discussion with the parents so we have time for questions. But thank you again so much, Emily and Sarah and Allison, just for sharing your experience that you've had this year. And again, just for taking some time out of your busy day. So we appreciate it. I think there's nothing like hearing, experience from someone who's currently going through any kind of situation, but especially with sending your kids off to kindergarten. So Carissa, what questions do we have?
We've been watching the chat. It's kind of a quiet group today. So I think we've been staying on top of the questions that are out there, but we do have some time. So maybe we can even just open it up too. And if someone has a question, they can just unmute themselves and go ahead and ask.
Perfect.
Hi, I have a question. My name's Megan. I have a question for the teachers that might have experience with twins coming into kindergarten. I have twin girls that are going to be going next year. So I don't know if it's up to the parents or if we kind of just let the school do what it does, but what is your experience with twins, and if they should be in the same class or separated, or have you had it okay both ways?
You know what, can I take this one? I have twins at my house. So I have identical twin boys. Our kiddos went to Lily Lake. And because the way Lily Lake was structured, I did have them in the same class for a couple years. Mm-hmm. But always told the teachers if they felt we should move them apart, do it. Okay. And we knew at 4th or 5th grade, we'd move them apart no matter what. Mm-hmm. I do teach at Rutherford. We're open concept. And so here the kids see each other all day long. So we do encourage parents to put them in separate classes here. I think you know your kids best. So at Rutherford, primarily most twin parents separate them into 2 different classes. Okay. So that's our experience.
And I have twins in my class this year. And I had twins in my class almost every year. I feel like we have twins in our classes, and it totally depends on your comfort level as a parent, and your kids best. So if you think they're better together, I think sometimes it's easier for communication if you get the communication from one teacher versus 2 teachers. But yeah, if you start to see, or if the teacher starts to see, like maybe that one twin is more dominant, or there's big differences in learning abilities, or if there is any type of problem having them together or separate, just talk to the teachers. That's the best advice. And your kids the best. Most often I feel like the twins are together that I have in kindergarten at this. I usually try to tell parents too, it's easier for communication. But
I was thinking at least keeping them the first year, but I just wanted to see what you guys thought.
Yeah. And then somebody asked a question about nuts. And Megan, it looks like you're answering it, but we do ask for nut-free snacks in the classroom. I do have a peanut allergy this year in my class. There's so many choices that are peanut-free or made in places that are peanut-free. And then in the lunchroom, the hot lunches are peanut-free. But kids are able to bring in peanut butter sandwiches and things in there. And then we're just, I think Megan even wrote in there where there's like places like peanut free places in the lunchroom for kids to sit. Most kids they don't, I think the problem usually lies within the parents trying to find a snack or things that the kids would eat, where kids, I just say it's peanut free and your snacks have to be peanut free. And then the kids just do that. They just same in the lunchroom too.
And I was just going to add to that because I had a question about that too with our child starting this year, because I had a friend who was told that their classroom was peanut free. And so I asked our principal and teacher, and we were told it didn't matter because there wasn't an allergy in our class. So I was told it's not a peanut free district. And so that I don't know that you'll be told, the year that you start if there's an allergy in your class, and if not, it's okay for the snack to include it. So I know schools do everything different. That's what I have friends at a lot of different schools, and it seems like all the schools kind of have different rules, but that's what we were told at Lake Elmo about our class, because there's not an allergy in the class. But
Allison, that's how it is at Rutherford also. If there's an allergy, we try to go peanut nut free. And if there is no allergy, then families can pack whatever they want.
I did see a question in here about pre-K. If you have a student that's already enrolled in pre-K in the district, you will still need to enroll in kindergarten. It is a different system that we use for our K through 12 enrollment from our preschool. So yes, definitely fill out all of the enrollment materials. And I also see a question here about the open classroom concept. So maybe Deb, that's something you can address.
Yeah, for sure. So open classroom at Rutherford, we do not have walls within our houses at Rutherford. So right now I'm sitting in one classroom and I can see 3 other classrooms. It's totally manageable. We all run the same schedule. We plan together, everything. So right now all the classrooms are getting ready to go to specials. They're all doing math at the same time. They all do social studies at the same time. So when it gets a little bit louder, it's because we're all dancing, and then it gets quiet because we're all reading. And so it ebbs and flows, but we're all on the same schedule, and I absolutely love it. We do share kids at Rutherford. So some of my students might go to a different classroom, which is 25 steps away, and they might go there for a little part of their literacy time, and they might go to another room for a little part of their writing time. And so that's how we do it at Rutherford. I love the open concept.
I think we're caught up in chat, but if there's, again, anybody else who wants to jump in with a question, we have a bit more time. I see are all schools open concept. No, they are not. I believe Rutherford is truly the most open. There's a little bit of open concept still at Stonebridge, but the others are more of your traditional 4 walls.
Hi, my name is Megan. I have a question for the teachers and just your experience with kids who come in who are younger, have summer birthdays, and just your recommendation. We are kind of going back and forth on whether we should send our son or not.
I think Deb and I both probably will chime in. I also, Megan, was in your position. I had a daughter who was, she has a June birthday, and we ultimately decided to send her to pre-K 2 times. And we did that not for academic reasons, but really for social and emotional reasons. She had a really hard time waiting her turn. She liked to go first for everything. She cried a lot. She didn't understand the flow of friendships and being reciprocal. So we actually, as a kindergarten teacher, I decided that I knew pretty fairly in my gut, I knew that emotionally, she wasn't as mature as other kids in kindergarten. And kind of like what I said last night, when we had the meeting is, as a teacher, I can take kids academically at any level and help them grow those brains. It is really difficult to take kids when they are emotionally and socially not ready for the big change to kindergarten. So Megan, you know your child the best, and you probably have a gut feeling too of where you think your child will be the most successful. I also encourage families to think out to when they are a senior in high school, and just to think do you want your child to be young and able to go to college when they're 17, just turning 18, or to give them that extra year? And ultimately, there's no wrong decision. you'll have to make the decision that's best for you and your child and kind of stick with that. And it will be okay no matter what you choose. If your child goes when they're young or if they are older, it will be okay. And like Megan said, we will love them exactly for who they are when they come through the doors the very first day. And we will take them right where they are. And Deb will talk too. She had a similar situation in mind, but her boy went.
Yep, I have 4 boys with summer
Thanks.
birthdays, and we never thought about keeping them back. Their preschool teacher, I'd say lean on your preschool teacher. Also, they see your kiddo in an academic setting. So if they have some red flags, but honestly, like Melody said, it's not going to, no matter what you decide, it's going to be okay. But biggest thing is, do you want your kiddo to be the big fish in the small pond or the small fish in the big pond? And you have to decide, that if they're super young and you have red flags, trust your gut.
Great question.
Great. Thank you both.
Any other questions before we wrap up?
Cindy, there were a few things that I wrote down last night that we didn't touch base on today.
Oh, awesome.
Maybe I just go through that. I think that Allison talked about it. You'll get very, very little homework in kindergarten. For us at Rutherford, it's just a special project every now and then, and it's not something big. Choice time, we do it every single day. The kids get a chance to play. Responsive classroom is huge. In the first 6 weeks of school, it's heavy on responsive classroom, and it's building community, building independence. And our schedule is not normal on day 1. Our schedule gets to be normal about week 6. So we kind of build the kids up to a normal schedule academically. We have movement breaks every single day. So the kids in the fall, we go out to recess 3, maybe 4 times a day as they're learning and building stamina. And then at this time of year, it's the 1 to 2, but they get extra gyms, they get dancing breaks all day long. So it's do something, dance, do something, move. We do science and social studies every day. We have a document that our district has. Kindergarten across the whole district does the same stuff around the same time. So we're covering all the state standards. And I think that that's all I wrote down. So there you go.
Thanks, Deb, for taking notes last night.
For sure.
Hey, Jenny asked a question about providing tips for preparing a child emotionally for kindergarten. And I would say preparing a child emotionally would be starting with identifying the child's feelings and being able to verbalize those feelings, noticing times in their bodies when they're feeling possibly anxious or angry or impatient, and being able to kind of talk through that. I would say as a parent, not giving your child everything they want immediately when they want that, having conversations between, that immediate gratification that speaks also with screens. So we know that when kids are on a screen, a lot of the time emotionally that they don't have those opportunities to be social. So limiting screen time, allowing friendships and encouraging children when they play together to take turns, and modeling that. In kindergarten, as teachers, we model during playtime so much of what we want to see emotionally with kids, and that's everything from sitting down with someone and saying, oh, it looks like you have all of the toys and your friend doesn't have any of the toys for the dollhouse. How can we get it so that you both have toys? And having them empathize. Oh, it looks like you have all the toys, but your friend doesn't. I wonder how that makes her feel. So if that helps you, just kind of identifying feelings, emotional regulation. What do we do when we feel really angry? I really wanted to be first. And in my classroom, I use a lot of the language where I say, like, sometimes you get to go first and sometimes you don't. And then I move on. Or sometimes you get to be the leader at circle times and sometimes you don't. That kind of language, so that they get used to not always getting what they want every time. And, knowing, we have kids that cry emotionally at school. And what is it when you have big feelings? What can you do? We all have places in our classroom that are like, I have a calm corner with a rainbow tent where kids have tools for calming down. So just teaching your children how to identify feelings and when to, how to be calm. What does it look like to be a learner? Where do you look when someone's speaking? And we do a lot of that in school. And separating from you too, allowing your child some time away from you. If, with COVID, this group of kids that we all have right now, these kids have been with their parents a lot, right? They've been home. So just giving them opportunities to be away from you or even be independent away in your house. I don't know, Megan, Deb, do you have other for independence?
No, I mean, just the routines of like, and like complimenting them and say like, wow, I noticed you did that all by yourself, like naming what they're doing, but like being specific in like giving that compliment to them. Like I noticed how, wow, I bet you could have been really angry about that and you just did this instead. Just so they recognize like, wow, I made a really good choice. Sometimes it needs to be named for them to like really understand what it was that they were just able to do. So I think just like what you said, just really naming it and modeling it. You can never model enough.
Great advice. All right, well, it's almost 2:00. Chris, is there like one last question that maybe we can answer? Otherwise, I think if the panel's done a great job and you've done a great job answering those.
I think we are all caught up on questions. I did put my contact information in there, keisterc@stillwaterschools.org. If you have additional questions as follow-up, I can play that connector and make sure I connect you with the right people to have any other questions answered. You're also welcome, if you have any enrollment questions, to contact our enrollment office here at Central Services, and they can walk you through any of the enrollment processes. It can be a little confusing if this is your first time, and you certainly wouldn't be the only parent who needed to call and have some questions answered. So feel free to do that as well. I'll throw that number in here.
All right, thank you, Chris. All right, well, families, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. And just again, a big thank you to Emily and to Sarah and to Allison and to Megan and Deb and Melody, and Carissa too, just for taking the time out of your work day and just sharing with us. And families, we really hope that this just makes you even more excited that your kid is going to kindergarten, and just kind of helping calm some of those fears or worries that are very normal for sending your only child or your firstborn child out in the world, but they're going to do great. So have a great holiday season, and thanks everyone. Bye.